Commander Jake Morrison sat in his chair on the bridge of the USS Liberty, staring at the communication screen with growing worry. For the past 6 hours, every single human frequency had been completely silent. No messages from Earth, no chatter from the Mars colonies, no signals from the mining stations in the asteroid belt. Nothing. "Lisa, run another scan," Jake called to Dr. Lisa Parker at the science station. "Maybe our equipment is broken." Lisa shook her head as she checked her instruments again. "All systems are working perfectly, Commander. The silence is real. Every human communication channel across known space has gone dark at exactly the same time." Jake had never experienced anything like this in his 20 years of space service. Humans were famous throughout the galaxy for never shutting up. They broadcast everything: news, music, personal messages, cooking shows, sports commentary, philosophical debates, and countless other transmissions that filled the cosmic airways day and night. Other species often complained that humans talked too much, but they had all grown used to the constant stream of human voices. "Sir, we're receiving an emergency transmission from the Zephyrian High Command," reported Lieutenant Sam Rodriguez from the communications desk. His face was pale as he listened to the message through his headset. "Put it on the main screen," Jake ordered. The blue-skinned face of Admiral Vexstar appeared, his usually calm expression showing clear signs of distress. "Commander Morrison, we must know immediately. Has your species declared war against the Galactic Federation? Your sudden communication blackout can only mean you are preparing for a massive military action." Jake's mouth fell open. "War? Admiral, we haven't declared war on anyone. We're experiencing some kind of technical problem with our communications." "Technical problem?" The alien's voice rose higher. "Commander, your species has maintained constant communication for over 200 years. Never, not even during your worst disasters, have humans stopped talking completely. This silence can only mean catastrophe or preparation for conflict." The transmission ended abruptly. Jake turned to Lisa, who is now monitoring dozens of incoming alien messages. "What else are we getting?" "Commander, it's chaos out there," Lisa replied, her fingers flying over her console. "The Cathara Collective is buzzing with panic theories. They think humans have been wiped out by a plague. The Valdorian Federation has already started planning memorial services for our entire species. The Centauri Trade Alliance is asking if they should send rescue fleets." Captain Danny Brooks watched the situation unfold from Research Station Omega-7, positioned near the edge of human space. His station specialized in monitoring alien communications, and what he was hearing made his blood run cold. "The entire galaxy is freaking out," Danny told his crew during an emergency meeting. "I've been listening to alien channels for the past 4 hours. Every major species is talking about the human silence. They're calling it everything from the Great Quiet to the end of voices." His communications officer, Amy Foster, looked up from her station with wide eyes. "Captain, the melodic beings from Andromeda 7 just sent a message. They're crying. I didn't even know they could cry. They said human music and voices have been the background soundtrack to their entire civilization for decades." "What do you mean?" Danny asked. "They've been recording our broadcasts and using them as inspiration for their art, their meditation, even their sleep cycles. Without human voices, they say their whole culture is falling apart." Meanwhile, aboard the diplomatic vessel Harmony, Ambassador Helen Carter was dealing with an unprecedented crisis. She had been summoned to an emergency session of the Galactic Council, something that hadn't happened in over 50 years. "Ambassador Carter," spoke Chancellor Mordock of the Reptilian Confederacy, "we need answers. Your species' silence has caused 3 market crashes, 2 diplomatic incidents, and widespread panic across 17 star systems." Helen stood before the assembled aliens, feeling the weight of their stares. Honored council members, I can assure you that humanity has not declared war, been destroyed, or abandoned our place in the galactic community. We are investigating this communication breakdown ourselves. But how is this possible? Asked the insectoid representative from the hive worlds. Humans never stop talking. You broadcast everything. Your thoughts, your feelings, your daily activities. You share recipes while piloting starships. You debate philosophy during mining operations. You sing songs during the most serious diplomatic meetings. This silence is unnatural. Helen realized something she had never considered before. How dependent have you become on our communications? The council chamber fell silent for a moment. Then Chancellor Mordak spoke quietly. More than we care to admit, Ambassador. Human transmissions provide us with early warnings about solar storms, asteroid movements, and space anomalies. Your species notices things others miss because you talk about everything you observe. Your constant chatter has prevented dozens of disasters over the years. The crystalline delegate's voice chimed like bells. Human voices have become the heartbeat of galactic civilization. Without them, we feel lost, disconnected, afraid. Back on the USS Liberty, Jake was receiving reports from across human space. Every colony, every ship, every space station was experiencing the same mysterious silence. But it wasn't just the lack of outgoing communications that worried him. Humans everywhere seemed to have lost their urge to talk, even to each other. Lisa, I need you to check something, Jake said. When did you last feel like having a casual conversation? Lisa paused, thinking. You know, I haven't wanted to chat about anything since yesterday morning. I thought I was just tired, but now that you mention it, I don't feel like talking at all. It's like the urge is just gone. The realization hit Jake like a cold wave. This wasn't a technical failure. Something had changed in humanity itself. The species that had earned a reputation as the galaxy's biggest talkers had somehow lost their desire to communicate. As reports continued flooding in from panicked alien civilizations, Jake understood they were facing something far more serious than a simple equipment malfunction. The galaxy had come to depend on human voices in ways no one had fully understood. Now that those voices had fallen silent, the very foundation of galactic civilization was beginning to shake. 3 days after the silence began, Ambassador Helen Carter stood in the Grand Hall of Nexus Prime, the neutral world where the Galactic Council met. She had never seen anything like what was happening around her. 12 different alien species, many of whom had been enemies for centuries, were working together with a single goal: finding out what had happened to humanity's voice. This is unprecedented, whispered Chancellor Mordak as he approached Helen. The Zephyrians and the Kithara have formed an alliance. The crystalline beings are sharing their sacred archives with the Reptilian Confederacy. Species that haven't spoken to each other in decades are now best friends, all because they're terrified of your silence. Helen watched in amazement as alien delegates who normally couldn't agree on anything were now sharing resources, technology, and information. The Hive Queen personally handed over encrypted files to the Valdorian Federation leader. The gas-based entities from the Nebula sector were communicating directly with solid matter, species for the first time in galactic history. Ambassador Carter called out the lead investigator, a tall gray alien named Zix from the neutral zone. We formed the largest joint investigation force in galactic history. 47 ships from 16 species are now searching for answers about humanity's communication breakdown. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Sam Rodriguez found himself leading a mixed crew aboard the diplomatic vessel Harmony. His team included a Zephyrian logic specialist, a Kithara group mind representative, 2 crystalline harmonic experts, a Valdorian empath, and a shape-shifting scout from the Outer Rim. This is the weirdest assignment I've ever had, Sam told his alien teammates during their first briefing. I'm supposed to help you figure out why my own species stopped talking. The Zephyrian, whose name was Kickstall, tilted his blue head thoughtfully. Lieutenant Rodriguez, your species has been broadcasting continuously for 212 standard years. Even during your worst wars, natural disasters, and economic collapses, humans never stopped communicating. This silence suggests either total extinction or something far more mysterious. The Cathara representative, speaking for her collective, buzzed softly. We have been monitoring human frequencies for entertainment purposes. Your species produces the most interesting content in the galaxy. Your cooking shows alone have influenced the dietary habits of 43 different worlds. Sam stared at her. You watch our cooking shows? Watch, study, and replicate, the Cathara replied. Human creativity in food preparation has revolutionized nutrition across multiple star systems. But more importantly, your constant chatter provides crucial background information about space conditions, weather patterns, and social dynamics that we all rely on. Captain Amy Foster was discovering similar things aboard her research vessel. Her job was to interview alien species about their relationship with human communications, and what she was learning shocked her. Captain Foster, said Elder Vonara, of the Valdorian Federation during a video call, your people don't understand how important your voices have become to us. We use human conversations to learn about emotional expression. Your species talks about feelings more openly than any other in the galaxy. Amy had never thought about it that way. We just like to share what we're thinking and feeling. Exactly. Vanara's tentacles waved excitedly. Other species keep their thoughts private. Humans broadcast their inner lives constantly. We've learned more about consciousness, emotion, and social bonds from listening to human conversations than from centuries of our own research. Dr. Greg Thompson, head of the newly formed Joint Investigation Task Force, was reviewing data from across the galaxy. His temporary office on Nexus Prime was filled with alien scientists and researchers, all working together to solve the mystery of human silence. The economic impact alone is staggering, Greg explained to his mixed species team. Human communications drive 60% of all interstellar trade. Your species uses human broadcasts to predict market trends, identify new opportunities, and avoid dangerous trade routes. A reptilian economist named Seth nodded his scaled head. Human merchants talk constantly about their experiences. They warn about pirate activity, recommend good trading partners, and share information about resource availability. Without these communications, trade between star systems has dropped by 40% in just 3 days. Commander Beth Williams was leading an investigation from a different angle. Her ship, the Explorer, was visiting human colonies to document the effects of the silence on humanity itself. It's not just that they're not broadcasting, Beth reported to headquarters. Humans everywhere have lost the desire to communicate. They're going through their daily routines, but they're not talking to each other, not even small talk. It's like someone turned off a switch in their brains. Her chief medical officer, Dr. Carlos Mitchell, had been running tests on human volunteers. Commander, I've found something strange. The part of the human brain that controls social communication is showing unusual activity. It's like it's trying to work, but being blocked by something. Back on Nexus Prime, the alien delegates were sharing their own discoveries. The melodic beings had brought recordings of human music and conversations that they had been collecting for decades. We didn't realize we were doing anything wrong. Their harmonic representatives sang in perfect pitch. Human music and voices have become the foundation of our entire cultural harmony. We use human laughter to tune our instruments. We use human conversations to understand rhythm and emotional flow. The crystalline delegate added, our entire information network relies on human broadcasts. Humans notice things that other species miss because they talk about everything they see, hear, and experience. They provide real-time updates about cosmic events that our sensors don't detect. Ambassador Helen Carter realized that humanity had, unknowingly, become the galaxy's information hub. How many species depend on our communications? Zix consulted his datapad. According to our preliminary investigation, every major civilization in this sector of the galaxy has integrated human communications into their essential systems. Transportation, commerce, early warning systems, cultural development, scientific, research, and diplomatic relations all depend heavily on human broadcasts. The weight of this revelation settled over the assembly. Humanity's silence wasn't just an inconvenience. It was threatening the stability of galactic civilization itself. "We need to find out what caused this," Helen said firmly. "Not just for humanity's sake, but for the entire galaxy." As alien ships spread across space to investigate, one thing became clear. The galaxy had been depending on humanity's constant chatter far more than anyone had realized. Now that the voices had stopped, everyone was learning just how essential human communication had become to the fabric of interstellar society. Dr. Greg Thompson stood in the ruins of an abandoned human colony on the planet Kepler 442b. The colony had been empty for over 300 years, but the Joint Investigation Team had found something incredible buried beneath the old settlement. Ancient alien structures, far older than human civilization, lay hidden underground. "These aren't human-made," Greg said to his mixed-species team as they explored the dark tunnels. "The architecture is completely different from anything we've seen before." Zix, the lead alien investigator, ran his scanner over the strange symbols carved into the walls. "These markings are over 10,000 years old. They belong to a species that died out long before humans ever left their home planet." Commander Beth Williams led her team deeper into the underground complex. The walls were covered with pictures and symbols that seemed to tell a story. Her translator, a Voldorian empath named Kriya, was studying the images with growing excitement. "Commander Williams," Kriya said, her tentacles trembling, "these pictures show the history of galactic communication. Look at this section here." Beth followed Kriya's gesture to a series of carved panels. The first panel showed a galaxy full of different alien species, all isolated from each other. The second panel showed one species glowing brightly, with lines of light connecting them to all the others. The third panel showed the glowing species disappearing and the galaxy falling into darkness and chaos. "It's like a pattern," Beth realized. One species becomes the communicator for everyone else. Then something happens to them, and the galaxy falls apart until a new species takes over. Engineer Carlos Mitchell was working with a team of alien technicians in another part of the ruins. They had found something that made his hands shake with excitement and fear, a massive alien device, clearly ancient, but still humming with power. "This thing is still active," Carlos reported over his communicator. "It's been running for thousands of years, and it's definitely not human technology." The device was covered in crystals that pulsed with a soft blue light. Alien writing covered every surface, and strange energy readings were coming from its core. The crystalline expert on Carlos's team, a being called Resonance, was studying the machine with fascination. "This device is designed to influence brain patterns," Resonance chimed. "It sends out waves that affect the communication centers of organic minds. It's been broadcasting continuously for millennia." Dr. Lisa Parker arrived at the site with more alien specialists. As the team's expert on alien biology, she was amazed by what they were discovering. "This machine isn't just influencing brains randomly," she explained. "It's specifically designed to make one species extremely talkative while leaving others unaffected." The breakthrough came when Amy Foster found the control room of the ancient device. The room was filled with star charts, species records, and what looked like a selection system. Most shocking of all, there were records of dozens of different species, with dates marking when each one had served as the galaxy's communication node. "Look at this." Amy called the others over to a massive display. "The machine has been choosing different species throughout galactic history. The melodic singers were the communicators 8,000 years ago. Before them, it was the echo builders. Before that, the whisper weavers." Sam Rodriguez studied the timeline with growing horror. Each species served for a few thousand years and either went extinct or evolved beyond the machine's influence. When that happened, the device automatically selected a new species to take over the role. "And 200 years ago," Greg said, quietly, it selected humanity. The implications were staggering. Everything that made humans the chattiest species in the galaxy, their love of conversation, their need to share every thought and feeling, their constant broadcasting of information, had been artificially enhanced by an ancient alien machine. Captain Danny Brooks was monitoring the device's energy patterns from his research station when he noticed something alarming. "The machine is failing," he reported. "The power levels have been dropping slowly for months. That's why humans have been gradually talking less." Carlos ran more detailed scans of the device's core systems. "It's not just failing," he said with growing concern. "It's completely broken down. The crystals that control the brain influence. Waves have been cracking. 3 days ago, the last functional crystal finally shattered." That's when the silence began, Lisa realized. When the machine stopped working, humans lost their artificial urge to communicate. The discovery sent shockwaves through the joint investigation team. Everything they thought they knew about human nature was wrong. Humanity's famous chattiness wasn't entirely natural. It had been enhanced by alien technology for over 2 centuries. Beth contacted Ambassador Helen Carter with the news. "Ambassador, we've found the source of the silence. An ancient alien device has been making humans talkative for the past 200 years. When it broke down 3 days ago, we lost that artificial urge to communicate." Helen sat in stunned silence for several minutes. "Are you telling me that our entire reputation as the galaxy's most social species is based on alien mind control?" "Not entirely," Greg interjected. "Humans were already naturally social and curious. The machine just amplified those traits. It made you want to share everything you experienced, to talk about everything you saw and felt." The alien representatives on Nexus Prime were equally shocked when they heard the news. Chancellor Mordock spoke for many when he said, "So humans have been unknowingly serving as our communication network because an ancient machine was influencing their minds?" Zix nodded grimly. "The pattern is clear. This device has been selecting species to serve as galactic communicators for thousands of years. Each time a species stops serving this function, either through extinction or evolution, galactic civilization begins to collapse until a new communicator species is chosen. But now the machine is broken." The Kaithara representative buzzed with concern. "What happens to galactic civilization if no species is compelled to communicate constantly?" The question hung in the air like a dark cloud. For the first time in galactic history, they were facing the possibility of existing without a species dedicated to maintaining the flow of information that held their civilization together. "We have a choice to make," Helen said finally. "We can try to repair the machine and restore humanity's artificial chattiness, or we can let it stay broken and see what happens to both humanity and the galaxy. Either way," Greg added, "we need to tell the humans the truth. They deserve to know that their famous talkativeness has been partially artificial all along." The discovery had changed everything. The question now was whether humanity would choose to remain the galaxy's communicators by choice, or whether they would embrace their newfound silence and let galactic civilization face an uncertain future. Professor Nancy Adams sat in her research lab aboard the USS Liberty, surrounded by ancient alien texts and translation devices. She had been working nonstop for 3 days to decode the complete records from the underground ruins. What she discovered made her hands tremble as she prepared to share the news with the rest of humanity. "Commander Morrison," Nancy called Jake over to her workstation. "I've finished translating the precursor species records. The truth is worse than we thought." Jake looked at the holographic display showing thousands of years of galactic history. "What did you find?" "The ancient species that built the communication device didn't just influence one species at a time," Nancy explained. "They created a system of control that has been shaping galactic civilization for over 50,000 years. Every major advancement, every period of peace, every golden age in galactic history happened because one species was being forced to serve as the communication hub. The record showed a repeating pattern throughout galactic history. When a species served as the communicators, the galaxy thrived. Trade flourished, wars ended quickly, scientific discoveries spread rapidly, and different civilizations learned from each other. But when each species eventually broke free from the device's influence or went extinct, the galaxy would fall into dark ages of isolation and conflict. The machine doesn't just make a species talkative," Nancy continued. "It makes them naturally curious about everything, eager to share information, and compelled to help others communicate. It turns an entire species into unwilling servants of galactic stability." Major Ryan Clark was conducting an emergency meeting with human leaders from across the galaxy. Representatives from Earth, Mars, the outer colonies, and deep space stations had gathered virtually to discuss humanity's future. "The question before us is simple," Ryan said to the assembled group. "Do we allow the aliens to repair the device and return to our role as the galaxy's communication network? Or do we reject this artificial influence and accept the consequences?" Captain Lavra Bennett from the Mars Defense Force spoke first. "We need to think about what we're giving up. Without the device, humans are already becoming less social, less curious, less willing to help others. Is that really who we want to be? But it was never really who we were," argued Dr. Sarah Williams from the Europa Research Station. "Our entire identity as the friendliest, most helpful species in the galaxy was built on alien mind control. Don't we deserve the right to discover who we truly are without that influence?" Commander Beth Williams joined the debate from her ship near the ancient ruins. "I've been watching the device's effects firsthand. Even broken, it's still influencing humans within a 50-mile radius. The crew members working near the ruins are more talkative, more curious, more eager to share information than the ones working further away." Jake Morrison listened to the arguments with growing concern. "What are the aliens saying about all this?" Ambassador Helen Carter answered from Nexus Prime. "They're desperate, Jake. 3 more wars have started since we discovered the truth. The Zephyrian Empire and the Cathara Collective are fighting over trade routes because neither side has human mediators to help them communicate. The crystalline beings are falling into a deep depression without human music and voices to inspire them. The economic damage is getting worse every day," added Captain Danny Brooks from his monitoring station. "Galactic trade has dropped by 70%. 6 different species have stopped all interstellar travel because they don't have human early warning systems to tell them about space hazards." The alien perspective came through clearly during an emergency broadcast from the Galactic Council. Chancellor Mordak's desperate voice filled the communication channels. "Humanity, we are begging you to consider repairing the ancient device. We understand your anger about being manipulated, but please think about the consequences of your silence. 17 wars have started in the past week. Millions of beings are dying because species can't communicate effectively without human help." The Valdorian Federation's representative was even more direct. We have become dependent on human voices in ways we never realized. Our children can't sleep without human lullabies playing in the background. Our scientists can't focus without human chatter to stimulate their thinking. Our diplomats can't negotiate without human mediators to bridge communication gaps. Dr. Greg Thompson was analyzing the social effects of humanity's silence on both humans and aliens. The data is clear, he reported. Without the device's influence, humans are becoming more introverted, less interested in helping others, and less curious about the universe around them. We're still intelligent and capable, but we're losing the traits that made us special. Maybe those traits weren't meant to be ours in the first place, argued engineer Carlos Mitchell. Every species has the right to develop naturally without artificial interference. But what about our responsibility to the galaxy? Asked Dr. Lisa Parker. Even if our helpfulness was artificially enhanced, we still chose to help. We still made friends with alien species, prevented wars, and shared knowledge. Doesn't that count for something? The debate raged for hours across human space. Some argued that humanity should embrace their natural state, whatever that might be. Others insisted that their role as galactic communicators, artificial or not, was too important to abandon. Captain Amy Foster brought up a crucial point during one of the discussions. What if we could find a middle ground? What if we could modify the device so that it enhances our natural abilities without controlling us? Is that even possible? Asked Sam Rodriguez. Nancy Adams had been thinking about the same thing. The ancient records mention that the original builders of the device tried to create a voluntary version, but they died out before they could complete it. Their incomplete designs are still in the database. So we could potentially rebuild the device to work with human consent rather than human control, Jake asked. It would require cooperation between human and alien scientists, Nancy replied. And it would mean admitting that we want to keep our role as the galaxy's communicators, even knowing it was originally forced on us. The weight of the decision pressed down on humanity. They could choose to remain silent and let galactic civilization potentially collapse, or they could work with the aliens to create a new system that preserved their helpful nature while respecting their free will. We need to make this decision quickly, Helen warned from Nexus Prime. The longer we wait, the more damage is done to galactic stability. Some species are already talking about taking military action to force us to restore communications. The choice that would determine the future of both humanity and galactic civilization hung in the balance, waiting for humanity to decide who they wanted to be. Admiral Kevin Shaw stood before the largest gathering in galactic history. Representatives from over 200 species had come to Nexus Prime to witness humanity's final decision. The past week of debates had finally led to this moment, and Kevin felt the weight of both human and galactic civilization on his shoulders. After careful consideration, Kevin announced, his voice carrying across the vast assembly hall, humanity has chosen a new path forward. We will not simply repair the old device, nor will we abandon our role in galactic society. Instead, we propose to build something entirely new. The alien delegates leaned forward with interest. Chancellor Mordock spoke for many when he asked, "What do you mean by something new, Admiral Shaw?" Dr. Rachel Turner stepped forward, carrying the blueprints that human and alien scientists had been working on together for the past 5 days. "We're calling it the Harmony Network," she explained. "Instead of one species being controlled by an ancient machine, we're creating a voluntary communication system that any species can join." The design was revolutionary. Rather than forcing one species to serve as unwilling communicators, the new system would allow beings from any species to choose to have their natural communication abilities enhanced. Humans could maintain their role as the galaxy's primary communicators, but they would do so by choice, not compulsion. The key difference, Rachel continued, is consent and control. Anyone who joins the network can leave at any time. The enhancement is temporary and reversible. Most importantly, it amplifies natural abilities rather than creating artificial ones. Engineer Carlos Mitchell had worked closely with alien technicians to design the new system. We studied the original device and found ways to improve it, he explained. Instead of one massive machine controlling millions of minds, we have thousands of smaller devices that individuals can choose to use. Commander Beth Williams had volunteered to be the first test subject for the new system. Standing before the assembly, she activated a small device that looked like a simple earpiece. Immediately, her eyes brightened and her posture became more animated. "I can feel the difference," Beth reported. "My natural curiosity and desire to communicate are enhanced, but I'm still completely in control of my thoughts and actions. I want to talk and share information, but because I choose to, not because I'm being forced to." The demonstration convinced many skeptical aliens. The crystalline representative chimed with approval. This solution preserves human choice while maintaining the communication network that galactic civilization needs. Captain Amy Foster was coordinating the rollout of the new system across human space. "We've had over 50,000 volunteers. In the first day," she reported, "humans from every colony and space station are signing up to join the Harmony Network." But the new system wasn't limited to humans. To everyone's surprise, members of other species also began volunteering. A group of young Zephyrians requested to have their logical thinking enhanced to help with galactic problem-solving. Some Valdorian empaths wanted to better understand and bridge emotional gaps between species. "We never considered that other species might want to contribute," admitted Six, the lead alien investigator. "For thousands of years, we assumed only one species could serve as the communication hub. But this new system allows multiple species to contribute their unique strengths." Dr. Greg Thompson was studying the early results of the Harmony Network. "The diversity is making the system more robust," he explained. "Human curiosity, Zephyrian logic, Valdorian empathy, and crystalline harmony are all working together to create a communication network that's stronger than anything we've had before." Commander Alex Foster had the honor of sending the first official message through the completed Harmony Network. Standing at the communication center on Nexus Prime, surrounded by representatives from dozens of species, he spoke into the network transmitter. "This is Commander Alex Foster of the Galactic Harmony Network." His voice broadcast simultaneously across hundreds of star systems. "Humanity is back online, but we're not alone anymore. We're joined by friends from across the galaxy, all working together to keep our civilizations connected." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Alien species across the galaxy celebrated as human voices once again filled the communication channels. But now those voices were joined by others, creating a rich symphony of interstellar communication. Jake Morrison watched the celebration from the bridge of the USS Liberty. "Lisa," he called to Dr. Parker, "how do you feel about joining the network?" Lisa smiled as she activated her own Harmony device. "Like I'm becoming the best version of myself," she replied. "I still feel like me, but more curious, more eager to help, more connected to everyone around me." The establishment of the Human Communication Corps followed quickly after the network's success. This voluntary organization ensured that the galaxy would never again face the terrifying silence that had nearly torn galactic civilization apart. Ambassador Helen Carter addressed the Galactic Council one final time in her old role. "The age of one species carrying the burden of galactic communication is over," she announced. "We're entering a new era of shared responsibility and voluntary cooperation." The changes were remarkable. Within months, the enhanced communication network had prevented 12 potential wars, facilitated breakthrough scientific discoveries, and created cultural exchanges It enriched every participating civilization. Captain Lavra Bennett summarized the transformation during a broadcast to Earth. We learned something important about ourselves and our place in the galaxy. Even though our chattiness was artificially enhanced, our choice to help others was always real. Now we get to make that choice consciously, as partners in galactic civilization rather than unknowing servants. Sam Rodriguez, now a coordinator for the Harmony Network, reflected on how much had changed. The silence taught us that communication isn't just about talking. It's about connection, understanding, and working together to build something better than any of us could create alone. The galaxy had faced its darkest hour when humanity's voices fell silent. But from that silence had emerged something unprecedented. In galactic history, true cooperation between species, voluntary service instead of forced labor, and a communication network built on choice rather than control. Humans had embraced their identity as the universe's natural communicators. But now they shared that role with friends from across the stars. The chatter that once again filled the cosmic channels was richer, more diverse, and more meaningful than ever before. The species that had once been the galaxy's unwitting servants had become its willing partners, and in doing so, they had transformed not just themselves, but the entire foundation of galactic civilization.